Good morning, children. Today in this video, I am going to teach you chapter 4 from the Diary of Annie Frank by Anne Frank. We are discussing second part of this chapter. In this first part, we talks about how Annie talks about being lonely and having no one to talk to despite being surrounded by family and even about 30 people whom she called her friends. Even though she takes the decision of writing her feelings in the form of a diary, and it is unusual for her to write in a diary, but she is really in need of a true friend. She really needs a true friend. Thus, she decided to name her diary as a Kitty. Unlike other people, she is not going to mention just facts in it. She starts with writing her background to make it easier to understand for anyone who reads this letter. Even she describes her family, her early childhood when they all migrated, and her early schooling. So after giving brief account of her background, now she comes to the present day when she tells us about the result days and all the important facts about her childhood days when she was in a school. To know more about the incident of her life, let's move to read the chapter and try to understand the incident which had happened with her. Saturday, 20 June 1942. Dearest Kitty, our entire class is quacking in its boots. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will move up to the next form and who will be kept back. Half the class is making bets. Jean and I laugh ourselves silly at the two boys behind us, Cian and Jacques, who have staked their entire holiday saving on their bet. From morning to night, it's you are going to pass. No, I am not. Yes, you are. No, I am not. Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. So, here on June 20, 1942, Annie begins writing in her diary, and he addressed her diary as a Dear Kitty. She mentioned how entire class is quacking in its boots. Quacking in its boots means shaking with fear, nervous, that the entire class is nervous about their result. And the reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will be back. And it is unpredictable, and it will be decided by the teacher that by a meeting of teacher who will they select to be moved in the next class and who will be kept back. And many students were making bets. Gian and I laughed ourselves. और मैं और मेरी जो friend है, they are making fun of the nervous boy. So G is saying that G was polite as she tried to stop them making noises, कि वो सारे स्टूडेंट को रोकती है कि वो शोर ना मचाए. But while Anne scolded them, Anne उन्हें डांटती है. My angry outbursts can't calm them down. वो उसके गुस्से से भी शांत नहीं होते. But none of it worked. According to Annie, about a quarter of class should not be allowed to pass but teachers are the most unpredictable creature on the earth, and because they hardly respond or take part in any of the activity, why they shouldn't be allowed to pass? Because they don't respond to the activities. Even she refers to them as dummies, और वो उनको dummies बोलती है. And but this may not be the case because teachers are the unpredictable creature on earth. But this may not be the case because teachers' decisions can't be predictable. Teachers के decision को predict नहीं कर सकते हैं. I'm not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. We will make it. The only subject I am not sure about is math. Anyway, all we can do is wait until then we keep telling each other not to lose heart. So, not to lose heart means discourage, हताश नहीं होना, don't lose hope. That is mean not to lose heart. So the author says that she is not bothered. I am not worried about her friends, about my girlfriends and myself, about myself, because he is sure that we will make it. They will definitely pass. The only subject I am not sure about is math, and he was not sure about the math, that he would be pass or not in the mathematics. Now she has a tough time. She has a tough time with the subject of maths, but all they could do just wait. They wait कर सकते हैं for the result and not to lose heart. Mean they don't lose their hope. उन्हें आशा नहीं छोड़नी चाहिए कि definitely they will become pass. वो पास हो जाएंगे. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them. 7 men, 2 women. Mr. Kissing, the old foggy who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talk so much. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox, what can you write about that? I would worry about that later. I decided. I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked it into my bag, and tried to keep quiet. I get along pretty well with my all teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men, 2 women. Mr. Kissing, the old foggy who teach maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talk so much. After several warnings, he assigned me an extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox, what can you write about that? I would worry about the letter. I decided. I jotted down the letter in my notebook, tucked it in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. So here Annie tells about that she had a great relationship with all the teachers. सारे टीचर्स के साथ उसके अच्छे रिलेशन थे एक्सेप्ट द मैथ्स प्रोफेसर को छोड़ के. इवन ही वॉज कॉन्स्टेंटली इरीटेड बाय द ऑथर्स टॉक्टेटिवनेस. वो बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान हो गई थी टीचर्स की टॉक्टेटिव मतलब ऑथर यानी कि टॉक्टेटिवनेस की नेचर की वजह से. सो डिस्पाइट सेवरल वार्निंग, उसे बहुत सारी वार्निंग्स दी थी. ही असाइन मी एक्स्ट्रा होमवर्क. तो मिस्टर किसिंग जो मैथ्स टीचर थे उन्होंने मुझे एक्स्ट्रा होमवर्क दिया. ही असाइन मी to extra homework because Annie did not stop talking in his classes, क्योंकि वो बंद नहीं कर रही थी बात करना उसकी क्लासेस में. So which prompted him to give him extra homework, और जिसकी वजह से उसने उसे extra homework दिया. An essay on the subject, a chatterbox, and the first one was to write an essay. First जो उसका homework था to write an essay on the chatterbox. What can you write about that? I would worry about the letter. I decided. I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked it in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. So the first one was to write an essay on the chatterbox, which she thought was a weird topic, जिसे वो हमेशा weird topic लगता है to write on, because what could one write about that, जिसके बारे में वो लिख सकती है. For the moment she wrote the topic, उसने वो topic लिखा. She jotted down, she listed down all the facts, सारी facts लिखी, and in my note she jotted down title in my notebooks. उसने title लिखा, jotted means write quickly, फटाफट से लिख दिया, and tucked in my bag, and he kept it in her bag, this notebook, and tried to keep quiet. And she focused herself to be staying quiet. That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. I thought and thought. Suddenly I had an idea. I wrote the 3 pages Mr. Kissing had assigned me and was satisfied. I argued that talking is a student's trade and that I do my best to keep it under control. So that evening, the author come across a note as after I had finished the rest of my homework. जैसे उसने अपना सारा होमवर्क कंप्लीट किया. So the Annie came across the note that she has made a reminder for the essay. कि उसने एक रिमाइंडर लगाया था essay लिखने के लिए. The note about the essay caught my eyes. That she had finished the rest of her homework. Now she began thinking about the topic. I began thinking about the subject. अब उसने सोचना स्टार्ट कर लिया सब्जेक्ट पर while chewing the tip of my fountain. And she was just the gesture that she is in deep thinking. इससे पता चल रहा है कि वो बहुत ज़्यादा गहरा सोच रही है when she was chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing argument to prove the necessity of talking. So while anyone could mention random stuff, कोई भी कुछ भी rough stuffs कुछ भी लिख सकता है. Ramble on me, talk or write aimlessly for long. And for filling the pages, for the sake of the filling pages, but she wanted to present concrete arguments. लेकिन वो क्या present करना चाह रही थी? Concrete arguments in support of talking, क्योंकि वो क्या बात कर रही है, क्यों बात करती है. But the trick was to come up with convincing argument to prove the necessity of talking, कि क्यों बात करना ज़रूरी है. I thought and suddenly I had an idea. Suddenly she had an idea. She mentioned that she wrote the 3 pages of Mr. Kissing had assigned me and was satisfied. Now she mentioned that she will try to better herself as a student. But talking is something that cannot be eliminated completely. So argue that talking is a student's trait. तो talking क्या है? स्टूडेंट का एक क्वालिटी है, इनहेरिटेड ट्रेट, जो जेनेटिकली मिला होता है. I argue that talking is student's trait and that I would do my best to keep it under control, and something that cannot be eliminated completely, जिसे कंट्रोल नहीं किया जा सकता है. I would do my best to keep it under control. और वो she was doing best, वो बहुत अच्छा कर रही है उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए. But I would never be able to cure myself of the habit since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more, that there's not much you can do about inherited traits. And this is because she got as an inherited trait, क्योंकि उसे ये गुण, इसे habits अपनी mother से मिली है, from her mother. And this is how she ended up writing 3 pages. और इसी वजह से ये सारा उसने उस टॉपिक पर 3 पेजेस लिख दिए. And she had ended up writing 3 pages on that topic. Mr. Kissing had a good laugh at my arguments, but when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second essay. This time it was supposed to be an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it in, and Mr. Kissing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. However, during the 3rd lesson, he would finally had enough, and he Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled Quack Quack Quack, said Mistress Chatterbox. So Mr. Kissing had a good laugh. Now the professor बहुत ज़ोर ज़ोर से हंसने लगे at my arguments, जो भी उसने points लिखे थे. The professor found Annie's argument to be very amusing. Now he started laughing when she did not stop talking in the next lesson. But when I proceed to talk my way through the next lesson, वो next lesson में फिर से बात कर रही है. Then he assigned me a second essay, और फिर उन्होंने मुझे second assignment दिया. He gave her yet another assignment as punishment के form में, and this time it was supposed to be an incorrigible chatterbox. और now today that topic was, वो जो topic था वो था incorrigible chatterbox. Incorrigible, that which cannot be corrected, जिसको हम करेक्ट नहीं कर सकते, जिस क्वालिटी को हम करेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. सो इनकरेजिबल रेफर्स टू अ बैड हैबिट दैट इज़ डिफ़िकल्ट टू चेंज, जिसे बहुत मुश्किल से ही चेंज किया जा सकता है. आई हैंडेड इट इन and Mr. Kissing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. However, during the 3rd lesson, he would finally had enough, and Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled Quack Quack, said Mistress Chatterbox. So on receiving this assignment, जब उसे assignment मिला Mr. Chatterbox, the Kissing से, the professor से, the professor didn't say anything to her. professor ने कुछ भी नहीं कहा to her for a while, थोड़ी देर के लिए. But when he lost his patience, जब उसका patience ख़त्म हो गया, he handed her yet another assignment, और फिर उसे एक और दूसरा third essay दे दिया. Finally he had enough. But when he lost his passion, जब उसका, he handed her yet another assignment as punishment, and this time the topic was Quack Quack Quack, said Mistress Chatterbox. और इस बार उसे थर्ड जो ऐसे राइटिंग का चैप्टर था और टॉपिक था वो था Quack Quack Quack, said Mistress Chatterbox. The class roared. I had to laugh too, though I would nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of Chatterbox. It was time to come up with something else, something original. My friend San, who is good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end it was, and I jumped for my joy. Mr. Kissing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I would make sure that joke was on him. So, when the professor scolded her for the third time, जो प्रोफेसर उसे थर्ड टाइम स्कॉल्ड करते हैं, and punished her, फिर से पनिश करते हैं. So the whole class started roaring, the whole class started laughing. I had to laugh too, वो भी हंसने लग गई. And though I would nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes, and as a result she had to be pretended amused, तो वो भी ऐसा दिखाने की कोशिश कर रही कि वो भी बहुत हंस रही है, enjoy ले रही है. Now it was time to come up with something else, something original. Now after writing twice on a similar topic, now she ran out of thoughts. It was come up to with up something else, something original. My friend San, who's good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end in verse. So my friend, now she has run out of thoughts. अब उसके पास थॉट्स नहीं लिखने के लिए, क्योंकि वो ऑलरेडी 2 बार लिख चुकी है. दस आर फ्रेंड सैन हु वॉज गुड एट पोइट्री, जो कि बहुत अच्छी पोइट्री लिखती है, नाउ ऑफर्ड हर, उसे ऑफर करती है टू हेल्प हर राइट इन अ राइम, कि वो राइम लिखे, वर्स लिखे. एंड आई जम्प फॉर अ जॉय, और वो खुशी से हंसने लग जाती है. नाउ मिस्टर किसिंग वॉज ट्राइंग टू प्ले अ जोक ऑन मी विद हिज रिडिकुलर सब्जेक्ट, बट आई वुड मेक श्योर द जोक वॉज ऑन हिम. नाउ दिस होल असाइनमेंट सिनेरियो वॉज टू मेक Anne feel ashamed, but she made sure that she gave an effective reply. अब लेकिन उसने ये डिसाइड कर लिया है कि वो एक इफेक्टिव रिप्लाई देगी ताकि उसका मजाक ना बन सके. रिडिकुलस मीन मॉकरी, मतलब एब्सर्ड, मजाक बनाना. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked so much. Luckily, Mr. Kissing took the joke right way. He read the book poem to the class, adding his own comments and to several other as well. Since then, I have been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned an extra homework. On the contrary, Mr. Kissing always making jokes with these days. I finished my poem. Annie saying that she finally wrote her third assignment. अब उसने third assignment लिख लिया है in a form of a verse, in a form of a poem, and it was a beautiful. Now the poem is a very beautiful. Now she wrote a satire in the form of a poem that a father swan bit his 3 babies duckling. कि father swan है, वो अपने जो babies 3 baby ducklings को उनको मार देते हैं because of their noisy nature, क्योंकि वो बहुत ज़्यादा शोर मचाते हैं. So luckily, to be good luck, Kissing took the joke the right way. Now the professor took it lightly. उन्होंने lightly लिया. He read the poem to the class. उन्होंने उस poem को क्लास के सामने पढ़ा. The professor recited the entire poem in front of the class, adding his own comments. Now while giving his own remarks also, वो अपने remarks भी बता रहा था simultaneously, and to several other classes as well. Even he recited this poem in other classes also. उन्होंने दूसरी क्लास में भी ये poem को recite किया. Now since then I have been allowed to talk, have been assigned without an extra homework. On the contrary, Mr. Kissing always making joke these days. So now the author being fortunate enough, now author lucky feel हुई, mean Annie बहुत ज़्यादा lucky feel हुई, talk uninterruptedly और continuous बात कर रही है. After this incident, इस incident के बाद without any further homework as a punishment, उसे कुछ ज़्यादा punishment के फॉर्म में कोई homework नहीं मिलता था. Even also on the contrary, इसके against क्या हुआ? On the contrary मतलब इसके opposite in nature. Mr. Kissing always making joke with these days. और Mr. Kissing ने the professor who started cracking jokes, उसने jokes crack करना start कर दिया. Also Mr. Kissing, the professor who started cracking jokes every now and then in the front of the class. And he never pointed her out of talking after the third and the last assignment. Yours, Annie. It was written by the diary by Annie. It was taken from the diary of a young girl. Now we have completed our chapter. Thanks for watching this video.